So Trump has done the most monstrous thing of his entire presidency. He has now called forth a crusade to support homosexuality throughout the entire world. Trump has also done a reform of the criminal justice system in the United States, revoking elements of Clinton's extreme right-wing justice reform in the 1990s. Why is he doing these leftist things? Why does he waffle? Why does he bomb Syria? Why does he do all these things that go against all the wishes of the autistic right? Well, to understand why he does these things, first you must understand the constant bombardment of the daily news media of CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC. Having news be 24 hours a day relegates it to simply being like ESPN. It's just a soccer match or some kind of sports ball match between the two opposing teams. All they focus on is the minutia in the intricate political details of the American process. That being said, I'm obviously not against being literate in how your nation's political process proceeds, but the hyper focus on every single action of the president, his cabinets, and the Congress, especially by those who consider themselves dissidents, relegates them to little more than team cheerleaders for each political party. So the autistic right, or whatever political faction have you that does this, if they watch Trump hour by hour, they're obviously going to be constantly disappointed in him because he is not a member of the autistic right and he does not advocate what they advocate. Trump's political platform in 2016 can be boiled down to 4 different platforms: the defeat of ISIS, getting illegal immigration under control, fixing America's trade imbalances, especially with China, and appointing Supreme Court justices which will not screw over his constituents. If you view Trump solely in the light of these 4 main platforms, Trump has never once revoked what he said in 2016. He may focus on one or the other depending upon which is easier at that point in time to do. His tax reform and any balancing of the budget, healthcare concerns, and social matters such as abortion and gay marriage are but backgrounds to him. Even criminal justice reform is merely a pragmatic thing which he doesn't take a position on one way or the other. That being said, Trump is really egotistical and he likes being popular. He was the head of a reality TV show. When somebody like that is swimming upstream constantly, especially in regards to immigration and anti-neoliberal reforms, what are you to expect? Of course they're going to flow downstream on the easy stuff. Of course they're going to agree with gay marriage. Of course they're going to agree with this criminal justice reform and all the horrible things that will come with it. Because he doesn't care about them, at least to the extent that you do. You are not Trump, and Trump is not you. You are merely voting for him or supporting him pragmatically. You have to remember that. He's not going to overhaul the U.S. immigration system. First of all, that is extremely difficult, given the parameters of the Congress, even during the first half of his term. He simply could not get anything like the RAISE Act, let alone legislation which paleoconservatives or the autistic right would support. And there has never been any indication that he actually supports any reduction in legal immigration, such as the ideological level. Furthermore, Trump is a patriotic, nationalist, baby boomer American. He understands the values of his time when he was in his teen years, his 20s, or even his 30s. A time when everyone saw the United States as a nation of immigrants, when it was largely and overwhelmingly white. He sees these immigrants as coming from nations such as Ireland, his mother's own Scotland, and other European countries such as France, Italy, Spain, Ukraine, Russia, Hungary, Poland, etc. He doesn't see immigration as something that will destroy what existed in his childhood, because it is very hard for people in their older years to understand the social changes that have occurred. Part of the very core of the American model after the 1960s and on has been the idea that immigration is at the center of it. America is an ideological state, just as, say, the Soviet Union was an ideological state. The idea, the propositionation of liberalism, where any man can come in and achieve the American dream. To ask Trump to be opposed to widespread immigration and allowing anyone who is capable and law-abiding to do the American dream is attacking the very base of the American ideology. Furthermore, a democratic system is a system which incentivizes the holder of power to seek things which will make him popular in the present. He does not do things which are difficult over the long term. This is the main reason for the collapse of the democratic system and the Great Replacement, because politicians do not want to take flack and be destroyed in any kind of re-election campaign. They have to think very, very close to the next two steps they're going to take at all times. Trump, when he sees his policies, he's measuring them against the time he has in office, which is either 2 years or at most 6 years. So Trump, say, if he has the ability to negotiate NAFTA to a certain point, he has to see whether this horrible NAFTA agreement or whatever it is that he's agreeing to, he has to see that in context of what he could possibly achieve 6 years down the line. He has to see the wall in what he can possibly achieve 2 or 6 years down the line. He has to measure every single decision based on the idea that he will not hold office very long. So he's not going to get every single electoral victory, if he gets any, which can match up to the ideological goals of his supporters, whether or not they are close to him, say the average American boomer conservative, or very distant from him, a member of the paleo-conservatives, or even the alt-right. He will not be able to create ideologically perfect legislation. It's simply impossible, because he is a member of a democratically elected liberal government. He is not a member of a monarchy or a single-party state, and he does not have his whole life or his children's life to achieve these policies. He can never think long-term. He can only think short-term, and he will always be thinking of his legacy. Presidents in the United States think about their legacy, so they'd be the first to do something. For instance, Obama went to Hiroshima and made a speech there, the first to do something. So when a history book talks about Hiroshima, the historians will mention that Obama was the first to go back there. So Trump does not want to be ruined in the textbooks historically. He does not want to be removed from power and not have a second term. Trump may act much more ideologically and much more determinately ideologically in his second term simply because of the fact of being term limited. Obama did this by supporting Black Lives Matter through Eric Holder. Obama became much more radicalized towards the American progressive movement in his second term. Bush, for instance, in the end of his second term, supported the surge and actually tried to win the Iraq War instead of avoiding conflict at all costs so that the news media wouldn't attack him. So when Trump sees the criminal justice reform or sees the crusade for homosexuality, he sees it how the history books would see him. No matter how negative the left-wing academic cathedral historians see Nixon, and they hate him. They hate him with all their hearts. They will always say he founded the EPA. So Trump thinks if he does something like that, which he doesn't care too much about, criminal justice reform, then the left-wing critics in the history books will at least give him a thumbs up. Why would he not support something that he doesn't have any opposition against? All these factors mean that Trump is going to disappoint you if you rally for Trump the same way you're going to rally a sports team. He cannot win every day. You should never ever attach yourself to daily news media. If you do that, you will not be able to understand politics within a true and deep, time-based and information-based perspective. You'll understand it at the level of a rioting Latin American at a soccer game.